The Perfect Matrimony is very quickly becoming one of my most favorite reads because it encompasses a lot of what I believe you gentlemen as well value very much in this channel, which is the esoteric and the occult knowledge, the knowledge that is hidden, only aware of by the few of you, but hidden from the masses, which is the definition that I use for demonstrating what occultism is. And in today's video, I thought I would share with you a chapter on normal sexuality, which is a conduit for sexual alchemy that you can all practice here today. So I have read this already, but I thought that it had such nuggets of information that would be palatable to your practice that I couldn't help but bring you another video today. So, normal sexuality. We understand people of normal sexuality to be those who have no sexual conflicts of any kind. Sexual energy is divided into three distinct types. The first is the energy having to do with reproduction of the race and the health of the physical body in general, procreation. Second, the energy having to do with the spheres of thought, feeling, and will. And thirdly, the energy that is found related within the divine spirit of man. This is what Rudolf Steiner referred to as the evolved man, meaning he can only communicate and commune with divine once he has mastered and conquered himself, one of which includes the sexual reflex, which is more closely associated with carnal pleasure and animal impulses. We are animal, yes, but we are also of spirit. The choice is yours. If you wish to procreate, right? Procreate and create a family, that is also a skill or a feature of being an animal on this earth. But we also have, or in modern Western times, there's also a fourth function here, which is just pleasure purposes, which is a skewing or a degeneracy of the sexual energy. Or you can use this to increase your cognitive capacity, your emotive and energetic centers, and also furthermore communicate with the divine. Indeed, sexual energy is without a doubt the most subtle and powerful energy normally produced and transported through the human organism. Every single man watching this right now knows the power of his innate sexual reflex, do you not? Well, especially if you have high testosterone. Everything that a human being is, including the other three spheres of thought, feeling, and will, is none other than the exact outcome of distinct modifications of the sexual energy. And this process you can more aptly coin as sexual alchemy. The control and storage of sexual energy is certainly difficult due to the tremendously subtle and powerful nature of this energy, of course. In addition, its presence represents a source of immense power that can result in a truly catastrophic outcome if one does not know how to handle it. Within the organism, there are certain canals through which this powerful energy must normally circulate. I interpret this Vedantically through the Ida and the Pingala, which are the electromagnetic pathways up the spine. You can also interpret this as the pathway Kundalini goes, which they coil around the central shaft of the Sushumna up towards the third eye. And again, this conduit, this opening to commune with the spiritual plane, astral plane, whatever your interpretation is of that. When this energy infiltrates the delicate mechanisms of other functions, failure is the violent outcome. In this case, extremely delicate centers in the human organisms are damaged, and in fact, the individual becomes an infrasexual. Interesting terminologies here. So this is consistent with all negative mental attitudes that can lead directly or indirectly to these violent and destructive catastrophes of sexual energy. For example, hatred, despising sex, hatred of the arcanum, which is sexual alchemy, disgust or repugnance towards sex, disdain, underestimation, fear of passion, jealousy, sexual cynicism, sexual sadism, obscenity. You get the point here. Many people are unfortunately of the naive opinion or deluded opinion that I'm against sex. I'm certainly not against sex. I'm against attachment to pleasure. I'm against attachment to pleasure. That is a core difference. Do not be ignorant of the fact that sexual energy can be used for the three purposes that's been outlined here in the perfect matrimony. And the path of the Westerner, let's say the fourth path, which is steeped in sexual pleasure, typically is the cheapest one and the shallowest one. And we'll expound upon some of the deeper options and features which you can use this tremendous energy for. So sex is the creative function through which the human being is a true God. Normal sexuality results from total harmony and concordance with all other functions. Normal sexuality bestows upon us the power to create healthy children, to create in the world of art or the sciences, to create procreatively, to create flesh, to create children, to create, our dynasty, DNA, or to create art. It is so poetic that we refer to this as our creative capacity then, our capacity to create. Those individuals among you who are noticing or sensitive towards the lack of creativity, well, it's coming from the lack of your creative essence, my friend. Any negative mental attitudes towards sex produces an infiltration of this powerful energy into other functions, which provoke frightening catastrophes, fatally resulting in infrasexuality. All negative mental attitudes compel the sexual energy, forcing it to circulate through canals and systems fit for mental, volitive, or any other type of energy less powerful than sexual energy. The result is fatal because that type of canal and system, unable to endure the tremendous voltage of the very powerful sexual energy, gets heated and blows out, as does a wire that is too thin and fine when a high power electrical current passes through it. When a man and woman unite sexually in the perfect matrimony, they are truly ineffable gods in those voluptuous moments. Man and woman united sexually form a divine androgynous being, a male-female Elohim, a terrifically divine divinity. Sexual energy is dangerously volatile and potentially explosive. During the secret act, during sexual ecstasy, the pair is surrounded by a tremendously, terrifically divine energy. In these moments of utmost joy and ardent kisses, which ignite the depths of the soul, we are able to retain that marvelous light to purify and totally transform ourselves. When we spill the glass of Hermes, when the loss occurs, the lights of the gods withdraws, leaving an open door for the red and sanguinary light of Lucifer to enter the home. Then the enchantment disappears and disillusionment and disenchantment takes its place. After a short time, the man and woman start out on the path of adultery because their home has become an inferno. Now, whilst I believe there could be some contention about this idea of when we spill the glass of Hermes, I'm sure you can interpret what that means, that we open the door for Lucifer. That may not be true. There may be some, contentious around that idea. There is something to be said about this disillusionment that is consistent with what may be colloquially interpreted as post-nut syndrome or post-nut clarity. There also might be some credibility on the idea that this moves us down towards the path of adultery. This was highlighted in Marina Robinson's book, Cupid's Poison Arrow, in which the premise of the book basically highlights this idea that most marriages, most sexual relationships can be boiled down to the other person using the other individual as some kind of means to gratify themselves. They're using other people like their drugs, like getting their hit of heroin, like getting their hit of weed or cocaine or other paraphernalia. And once you start chasing the chemical of dopamine as opposed to oxytocin, which is pair bonding, and what I believe the author here, apologies, I'm not sure the author's name, is alluding to, is sex to the means of orgasm, is chasing pleasure, and is only using our partner as a means to, get a high off them. Whereas the perfect matrimony, Karetsa, White Tantra, whatever you want to describe it, is a means to build more bonds and more connections within the relationship, which is predicated on releasing oxytocin, which is a pair bonding chemical. My personal evaluation of this is that in order for the perfect matrimony to occur, we have to stop treating our partners only as a means of getting high sexually, but also as a means to continue to bond together. And not just bond physically, but bond mentally, but bond emotionally, bond spiritually. This is described very, very poetically and beautifully here in terms of a union of the soul and retaining marvelous light to purify and totally transform ourselves. There's actually references to ancient civilizations like Lemuria, where no human being released their sexual energy. Then couples united sexually in the temples to create, should that be part of their wish. The sexual act was a sacrament which was only performed within the temple. Women in those times gave birth to children without any pain, and the serpent was raised victoriously through the medulla canal. And this is a reference to risen sexual energy in the form of, the serpent kundalini, moving up the spine through the paths of the Ida, Pingala, through the Sushumna, up to the medulla canal. When the human being returns to the starting point, when he is re-established in the system of sexual Eden, the sacred serpent kundalini will rise again victoriously in order to convert us into gods. The sexual system of Eden is normal sexuality. The sexual system of the Luciferic human is absolutely abnormal. Not only does one fornicate physically, but fornication also exists in the mental and astral worlds. Those who engage in lustful conversations, those who read pornography magazines, those who attend movie houses where passion, erotic films are shown waste enormous reservoirs of energy. Those poor people utilize the finest and most delicate substance of sex, wasting it miserably in the satisfaction of their brutal mental passions. There's reference here to many neurotic symptoms that many Western men are experiencing right now, such as psychosexual impotence. And there's also reference here, though, in going completely the other way, in repressing the sexual energy. So the struggle of many monks, nuns, pseudo-yogis to bottle up sex with their religious fanaticism, to confine it to the prison of their penitence, to muzzle it or sterilize it, to prohibit all creative manifestation, converts the fanatics into slaves of their own passion. They become slaves of sex, incapable of thinking about anything other than sex. Oh, the irony. This was certainly a learning curve for me in my earlier education, research, when I fully came to grips of how potent this energy was. I went completely the other way, like the nuns and the monks, and I repressed this energy, and it ended up making me a horny celibate, I think, as Ram Dass described in one of his books. But then you get into the transmutative practices. Then you learn about meditation. Then you learn about pranayama, which is more recently something I've been doing that has been a enormous facilitation of moving this energy, the stale and stagnant energy that you might be feeling, at the base of your spine and the pelvic floor, to actually push the energy up back into the brain. I highly encourage you. I will bring some more information on this if you wish it. So do leave me some comments, that you engage in some kind of daily breathwork practice if you are also practicing SR, because you need to be able to move that energy. Remember, your relapses come at the consequence of what? They come at the consequence of your triggers, and then your mind is tricking you into going back into the path of least resistance. But what controls the mind? Breath controls the mind. If you control the breath, you control the mind, you control the emotions, you control the actions that you're taking. I have found a reduction in my neurosis, or let's say negative emotions, by around 25 to 30% when I'm practicing breathwork daily. It's the first thing I do when I get up, and it actually makes my meditations deeper, my visualizations deeper. So please make sure that you are engaged in some kind of breath work. Pranayama is what I do. Some do Wim Hof, some do holotropic breathing, some do Tumo. I'm sure there's many more variations of it. But you will realize, if you've not practiced breath work before, how profound the mental implications are on your clarity. These are not theories. Those are facts. Speak soon.